And I suppose I would like to hear your comments on that, because there would be one other option, and that would be opening up with 50% capacity and allowing out-of-state and out-of-county people in. Does anybody have any comments?
Thank you, Ed. Any comments?
Kent, I think you're on mute.
How's that?
Better.
All righty. I hear what Ed says, and I understand the seriousness of the matter. The fact that the Chicago beaches and the mayor in Chicago has elected to keep everything closed, and she is rather adamant about that, and realizing that if we have an influx of people over here, if we open it up to people from out of town, with our limited amount of personnel at this time, I think that it would be probably more difficult to actually enforce the social distancing with a large group of people. And maybe it would be wise, I realize that we are also looking at revenue, and our revenue, if we allow only those people from Michigan City that have passes, then there is no revenue whatsoever. And revenue is a very important thing for us, but also the health of the people in the area, the health of the employees, the health of everyone involved in that is, I think, the utmost. And so I think at this time, maybe we ought to look at just allowing perhaps county people, Michigan City and residents of LaPorte County, and keep it at that. And if we do that, obviously we're going to count our losses, and that's unfortunate, but I think that health is the important thing here now.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Anyone else? Any comments? Hi, Phil. Phil?
I don't think I have the ability to unmute him. I'm trying, but I can't.
He was here a little while ago.
Mute, but nothing. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I forgot I was going to ask. I told you it's a bad day. Oh, Kent, you had some good points. As far as I think we owe it to the population of Michigan City, LaPorte County in general, to allow them to access our beautiful beach. Not that I'm anti-visitors, because as you said, it's a great source of revenue for this city. I myself am quarantining myself for 14 days because the past 2 weekends I've been to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I've also been to Brazil, Indiana. Not that I don't think I was around anybody, but again, we got, like myself, who has a park sticker. I don't know, but I am going to quarantine myself until, would it be the 10th of August? So I don't know about that. Just because they're from Michigan City doesn't mean perhaps they don't have a problem. I would like to see our residents have first dibs.
Thank you, Phil. We may have, I know there's a proposed ordinance from the City Council which may supersede our decision on who to let in. I think in terms of just managing the gate, I would say it's just continue to do the first come, first serve. That would be the easiest on our parking staff. If you have a sticker, you get in. If you don't have a sticker, you have to pay. That would be my preference. And then we have another issue. If we're limited to 50% capacity, we're going to have to limit ingress. Well, ingress can stay the same. Leaving, we'll have to limit to the way they normally leave now on the east side of Fedder's Alley, so that we can have counters there so that we can constantly maintain the number of vehicles. If it's at 50% capacity, keeping it to the 530 vehicles, and therefore allowing people in as people leave. But I believe we may be given that mandate by the city council or the mayor in terms of to what capacity and if there's any restrictions, or is it first come, first serve? So I think in terms of us tonight, we should just be contemplating how to manage the capacity issue. Unless someone else feels that we're going to have the ability or authority to make the decision as to who can actually attend or enter Washington Park.
Just in discussing this, one question I have is, obviously our capacity for the parking lot would be limiting the number of spaces available, right? But would we also be counting the actual number of individuals and trying to maintain a certain capacity that way? Because to me, it seems like the vehicles give you a good indication of how many people are there, but really you don't know how many people are piled into those vehicles. So are we counting individuals, or are we doing capacity based on just parking lot spots?
That's an excellent point.
Big
Yeah,
point.
that's a good point. I took an average on July 3rd and there is approximately 3.5 people per car.
Okay.
And with the square footage, the acreage that we have, 6-foot distancing would be possible without the volleyball. Without the volleyball tournament, there's enough room. And by using the Fedder's Alley grass area for grilling, if people were spread out in those areas, and the beach is short, we know that it's a high water this year, but half capacity of cars would give people 6-foot distancing throughout the area.
So then what Phil Latchford is indicating is, if I hear what he has to say, is that we would allow people from other areas outside of LaPorte County in, if that's a first come, first serve, until we get to a certain point, and then we would close the parking lot until that number of people left, and then we would allow more in. I think that's what Phil is trying to say.
That's correct.
So you're comfortable with allowing people from other areas to come in at this point, and that will give us, with those people paying a fee, it will give us a little bit of income.
Yeah, although revenue isn't my major concern.
No, I understand that. I understand. It would be nice to have some revenue, but
Sure.
again, I'm thinking of the health of everyone concerned.
I still feel we work so hard to create tourism, to welcome people into our community, to have them say, well, you're not welcome at this point, could have some lingering effect on our, down the road on tourism. And I feel maybe if you're heading to the beach, there's some risks, even if everyone's social distancing, that you assume. And if you don't want to put yourself in that position, you wouldn't. It's a voluntary activity to head to the beach, especially if you're aware of the rules. I don't know if I'd feel more comfortable or less comfortable not knowing where my surrounding, if I do go to the beach, I won't know if they're from LaPorte County or Illinois or Florida or Texas. Everyone has to take some level of responsibility and risk if they're going to go to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Could I ask a question?
Sure, please.
We have capacity for 532 automobiles, vehicles. If we go 50%, let's say I'm number 533. Am I going to wait at the entrance gate or just get waved off? How are we going to, how are the gate people or somebody going to know that, okay, 1, 2, 3 cars can go in because 3 cars left? How would we, is there any way to speed that up? We could have cars lined up, who knows how far.
Good point.
That's a very good point, Phil, and we've discussed that. And the design of Washington Park does not facilitate a very good way of letting people wait. There'll be some people backing up, having to pull out, that change their mind about going to the beach. It would demand quite a bit of enforcement and managing of traffic flow. It's very difficult at that location.
There's some ways we can do it. And if we're going to get into the operations, I'm happy to talk about it now. But for example, instead of allowing 2 lanes in to collect, if we're worried about backup, we can reduce it to 1 lane at that point, and then someone could use that as an exit. Whoever doesn't want to wait can go to the left and take the Ballards around and exit Washington Park at that point. But there's no easy way of counting when they're leaving. Someone's going to have to be posted up at the east side of Fetters and someone watching the west side of Lot 1 and just keep it a manual count.
Do we have enough personnel to do that? I mean, it would fall on them, and they'd have to keep as close as possible an accurate count to allow cars in, to allow cars out. I don't know, do we have enough people to do that? I know that the park department is operating on a very low personnel level at this time. So do we have that? I mean, Ed, do you know that? Or Shannon, would we be able to cover those areas if we elect to do that?
I will say that we do not have enough people to do that. We would probably have to hire more people to manage that. And also, there will be a time when some people are going to be upset, and we're going to have to actually hire some people that can enforce it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There will be some expense.
I had the same question. I'm waiting in line, and I look into the parking lot, and young lady, I see 20 places there. Why can't I go in? Are we going to have signage, or I mean, if I'm from Wanata and I see that, I don't perhaps get the News Dispatch or listen to WIMS, and I don't know that the Washington Park is going to limit 50%. Here I am waiting in line, and I see all those parking places, and you won't let me in.
That is going to create a problem at that point. There will have to be some type of enforcement there. We've mulled that over for hours, and there will be some people that are going to be very upset, and they're going to turn around, or they're going to be waiting at the area they're parked.
I understand, we need to do something, but that was just a question I have. I was thinking of a patron trying to get into the park, and I see these different things, and I don't know the reason why, but I'm not right up there to ask one of the ladies and gentlemen who are letting people pass. I don't know. I don't have the answer. It was just a question.
So I guess just a point of clarification, what we'd have to maintain here is the 6 feet of social distancing on the beachfront, as well as anywhere else people are gathering. So if that's the case, are we assuming that every car that comes in together is one household, and that basically every group of cars would need to maintain social distance from everyone else, and that's where we're getting the either 50% or either the 50% capacity or the third capacity is based on kind of that assumption that we would need the group of people in the one car to maintain social distancing while on the beachfront, given the area that we have to work with the high water levels this year and the beach erosion.
That's a good point. As a matter of fact, yesterday I visited Kimmel Beach, Beverly Shores, and the Indiana State / National Lakeshore. And it was very interesting that I did see the parties, like you were saying, from one car on the shoreline, distance from the next party from a car, and the distancing occurred on the shoreline. However, in the water and in the parking lots and on the streets, there was no thoughts of social distancing, no masks, a few masks. There was no enforcement of it, and it looked pretty haphazard to me. So the distancing may occur on the beach. You might see those families in their separate groups, but on the way to the beach and in the water and on the sidewalks and in the parking lots, there was no social distancing at all 3 beaches.
Okay. And that's, in those circumstances, that's when the mask mandate would take effect. When you can't maintain social distancing, you need to have the mask on?
Correct. That's the mandate, but there were no mask police. I don't see how
Right.
anyone was ever going to enforce that unless
You're right.
they got a group of enforcers.
Right.
So I think that's where it leaves us we're going to have to manage what's given to us. And what's going to be given to us is the mayor or the governor's already given us the mask mandate. And he said he's not going to employ the mask police. So that's nothing we can do. So what we can control is if they mandate capacity, I think that's what we're challenged with then, is how do we mandate the capacity? I don't think we can mandate or do anything about enforcement of the mask law or social distancing law. I think we'd be fighting at something that is beyond our capacity in terms of manpower and ability to enforce. That's just my opinion. And that's why maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but it's how do we manage the capacity issue when it's given to us by either the mayor or the city council or both.
Okay.
Because they may even mandate county versus non-county versus state as well. That's why I don't want to spend a lot of time on those issues, knowing that tomorrow night they have a special meeting and they may just trump everything inside here, but they won't trump how we deal with dealing with the capacity issue.
I must say, Phil, that I totally agree with you that our town wants to welcome tourism. And I know that turning people away is never good. I think with the Chicago and the Illinois beaches closed, that it made it very simple for Chicago to keep their COVID numbers down the best they can. But when we open our beaches to people from out of state, in fact, where COVID is now rising in the Lake County and Cook County areas, I think it puts us in kind of a pickle because we're inviting that virus to our area. I think it's a very different situation. It's a territory we have not been around and we have not had to deal with. If there were a way to keep the Michigan City people separate from the out-of-towners without discriminating, might be a way, but that might be discriminating against people. I just have a hard time thinking that it wouldn't be better to just have and not just Michigan City residents, because we have the county to think about too. If we had Michigan City residents only, we would have to check IDs on every vehicle. So if we could open it to the county only, I think with the barricades and the personnel we have, and the time we have to make signs, I think we could manage that. But I think realistically, by inviting people from out of town, we're doing two things. We're inviting that virus where it's actually increasing and spiking, and some people are just going to have to understand that we do welcome tourism, but we've never had to welcome tourism before under these conditions. And I don't want to be opposing to your thoughts, because you are right. We always want to welcome tourism. There's a lot to do in Michigan City, and it's never a good thing when you have to turn people away. But I just have the feeling that with our limited personnel and the condition of this virus, if it were decreasing, I'd maybe say, let's open it up. But with the increase out west, I just have that feeling that the Michigan City people deserve that beach for themselves right now with the COVID. And like you were saying, you're right. They still have to realize they have to be responsible if they want to take the risk to be around people in LaPorte County.
Ed, I appreciate it. That's why we're here. We're debating an issue. So point, counterpoint, and bringing up different, that's valid and that's healthy. So don't feel anything, or don't feel restrained in your opinion, your comments. It's better to have a dialogue like we're having. So I appreciate your opinions. If there's any other comments from board members, if not, Michael or Shannon, would you like to say? Please.
Yeah, I'd just like to chime in on, I'll be on that meeting tomorrow, and I am going to say a very similar narrative there than I am here. I don't have all of the answers, but I definitely agree with Ms. Espar that the difference between vehicles and people on the beach, I don't see any correlation. I haven't been going to the beach. I haven't been there regularly since I was young. And I bet the dynamic is still the same. A lot of the action is in the parking lot, and two separate things totally. A lot of people have family members that have been coming here forever. The ability to just drop people off, carloads full of different places. It's just going to be so difficult to actually, as everyone says, identify out of town and in county, out of county, Chicago. I also agree with the tourism piece about the image and the fairness and the ability to manage this ridiculously higher demand that we've had. Even without COVID, this demand is probably higher and more taxing on the people we have, regardless, the way we have it now. So, and the other thing is we do need to honor the stickers, no matter where the stickers are from. I personally would believe that if we just honored the stickers, that's going to easily get over 50% wherever these people are from. Some of these people have bought stickers that aren't from the county, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't see how we can not honor the sticker in fairness. And just two more points. To me, just the fact that we're making an honest, clear attempt to handle an unwinnable situation for anybody in the United States when it's dealing with COVID. There's the win right there. It's been debated, talked about. Every piece and point of view has been discussed publicly, and there's just no way to actually win on this except closing it down. And that to me is not. We should be able to manage this or begin to manage this process, because it may not go away, and we're going to have to get better at it at some point anyway. My last point is the ability to manage social distancing. I think is almost zero. people know to wash their hands. People know that they should have masks. And my answer to that almost would be an all or nothing, like loudspeakers and regular announcements. Do this, do this, do this. Because as people get to drinking, maybe they just get to talking too much and just forget things. And regular announcements as opposed to a force to try to enforce the unenforceable would be better. And once we identify that we've lost control on that day, that's when we close it. We've closed it down before. Once we've identified that it's past the point of us to manage. So loudspeakers, plenty of announcements if we've got that capacity, and monitoring the situation for all or nothing. We just shut it down. But I do like the idea of honoring the stickers no matter where they're from. So that's just and I'll be saying this tomorrow also.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think he brings up a very good point about the sticker. Somebody pays that money to have that sticker from, let's say, Wanata or so, and they come, they've got a sticker, and we're saying, no, you can't come in. I think that makes good sense. If we hold this to 50% capacity, I think that might be achievable. But also, I do want to remind all of us that there is going to be a lot of foot traffic where people will park outside the park and walk in over the bridge. And they will not be coming through the area where personnel are checking cars. They will be walking along the basin to get to the beach, and we really won't have much of a control over that. I don't know how many people that will be, but there could be somebody from Florida who parks somewhere. Maybe they park at Mady's and walk on in. So we will have more traffic than just automobile to deal with. Just as a point to consider.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I mean, I don't know if this is really a comment or more just muddying up the water some more. I completely agree with the remarks that Mr. Mack made and the additional comments of Mr. Lang. I guess I'm wondering, in terms of deciding on operationally how we open, how do we do that when we don't know what will be the restrictions of the ordinance passed by the city council? Because as you said, Mr. Latchford, we can come up with a plan that can be overruled by the ordinance. So I wonder, since we don't know what is going to be passed, and I still have hesitations and concerned with the correlation between the vehicles and ultimate capacity. I don't know how we come up with a plan with all of the unknowns. I will also acknowledge this is uncharted territory for everyone dealing with this, and decisions have to be made, and we can rework them as we get more information or as we see them not play out the way we anticipated. But personally, I'm struggling to fall either way when really we don't know what limitations will be put in place following the meeting tomorrow.
I would agree, and maybe it's time to ask Shannon, if indeed we're given a capacity limit of somewhere between, well, whatever, it might be 50% or 30% or 70%, do we have the capacity to enforce that?
Currently staffed? No, we do not. We have 9 staff members left to run the parking operation in total. So if you take some of those away to the exits, and we typically don't allow them to work outside, like in the east end of the park alone. They work in teams of 2 for safety. So no, we're going to have a real staffing issue. We were dealing with that anyway with school going back early this year on the 12th. Again, that's an unknown. My other comment is, if the proposed ordinance fails to pass at the council and this board has nothing in place, and the mayor's order expires Thursday at midnight, is Washington Park just a free-for-all come this Friday? And that there's so many moving parts here, that's my concern, that if the council doesn't pass that ordinance and we have nothing in place from the park board, then I assume it would go back to the mayor to make some type of an executive decision.
I would agree. And then maybe,
That's a really-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a really good point, is we don't want to leave it with nothing.
Sure. So maybe we'll just have to wait and see, and maybe it'll require, if no action is taken by anybody other than by the city council, the mayor, maybe we'll have to consider a special meeting if we want to enforce some limited capacity.
Phil,
Yes?
the council's meeting tomorrow. We have perhaps a tentative plan. The council meets tomorrow, and if then whatever they decide, we have a meeting Wednesday. Could we then, if need be, make some adjustments, or do we need to make a motion tonight? And I mean, how should we work that? Again, I understand that the council, whatever they decide.
Yeah, we don't have another meeting until Wednesday, the 5th of
Right.
August. So that leaves us in a quandary.
It would be a whole weekend, yeah.
Yes.
I would
I'm sorry, go ahead, Phil.
I would recommend we wait and see what the city council does tomorrow night. If they don't make any action, then we can just get with the mayor and see what his intent is. And if his intent is not to extend or make any limitations, then at that point we can call a meeting to contemplate it.
I think that's an excellent idea. It upsets me to hear Shannon say that we only have 9 people that could take care of this, and that isn't enough. And we don't want to have a free-for-all down there. There's no doubt about that. And that could easily happen if people are celebrating, and very difficult to practice social distancing on a beach, which you know is not going to occur. So I think that it's probably what you're saying, Phil, is wait for the city council, see what they say, and then we can have another meeting and say if we haven't got enough personnel, we toss that back to the mayor if he makes an executive order. And as more of the people that are checking cars go back to school, because these are mostly young people, it leaves us with less people. And then what it looks like, we're going to close down the beach until next year. And that's unfortunate, but if we can't maintain it, we don't want to have people injured. We don't want to have people fighting. It's a tough one. I think we need to wait, see what the city council is going to do tomorrow night, and then go. If we have to take and have another special meeting, so be it. But I think that's what we need to do right now.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Any other comments?
Just to piggyback off of what Kent was saying, I completely agree. I'm struggling, and it really worries me I know we're already really limited on staff, and the beaches were closed in the interest of protecting public health and safety. If we open it up with the mindset of still maintaining protection of the health and safety of the visitors, but we know for a fact we can't practically do that with our staff restrictions, it feels like we're just saying it and doing it in name, knowing that we can't actually ensure that. And if that's the case, do we have an obligation to protect all of the public and keep it closed? And I know that there are a lot of moving parts to this. That was more just a rhetorical question that's in my own mind. And I know that's the dilemma that the entire country is facing. Is we need guidelines and rules and ordinances out there, but most of the country, including the governor with his mask mandate, is struggling with the issue of enforcement of that. Yeah, right. And I think our main concern needs to be health and safety of the residents. If we can't ensure that, it just worries me going forward. I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow and go from there when we have a clearer picture of what our parameters are that we're working with.
Thank you, Ms. Esbar. Anything else? Okay, go ahead, Shannon.
So one other comment I had is if the park is to remain open in any capacity, the board could consider changing the hours to maybe like 10 to 6 p.m. to stretch the staff out. It would still give people ample time to go to the beach in the afternoon. But if it's going to remain open, right now the park's open by park rules, 5 a.m. until 9 p.m. So if it is open in a limited capacity, there's no way we can leave it open at 5 a.m. People will it'll be full before we open at 8.
Yeah.
So we would need to adjust that as a rule change for special hours. And then Ed had also wanted a rule change of no grilling on the beach. We currently allow propane and gas grills, and I tend to agree with him. People see anyone grilling, they think it's charcoal, so they bring their own down.
Yes, yeah.
So that would be another rule change we'd like to see happen if this board does vote on a rule change. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. In regard to the hours, is that something that's needed to be done if we do reopen? Is that something we should contemplate tonight?
I would think so, yes, just in case no other action's taken. We have to have some control on Friday. If no action is taken by anyone in the city, the beach opens on Friday
At 5 a.m.
at 5 a.m., correct?
Shannon, would you propose what was in the proposal for the reopening plan, the 8 a.m. to 9, or even shorter?
I would think shorter with their limited staff, and that staff is only through August 13th currently, unless the schools and universities change their opening dates. Again, a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is a nightmare.
Well, excuse me, could we start and kind of get the ball going a little bit here by perhaps proposing new hours? Again, no, I don't want to spin our wheels here, but wait until tomorrow and see what else comes about. And if need be, we have another special meeting. But if we at least have hours, that'll give Shannon some idea about the workers. Does that seem plausible?
That seems like a solution to me. If everyone's available, maybe Wednesday or Thursday for a special meeting. Should we need to call one? I have availability.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I would be available.
It would have to be Thursday to make the 48-hour notice, so I can put that out tomorrow.
Okay.
And what is it you'd like on the agenda? Just the same operational changes?
Right. Yeah, just a placeholder in case we need it, and if not, we can cancel the meeting.
Okay.
Phil, you want a motion to change the hours of opening for the Washington Park, and then we vote on it?
That could be, I think what I heard Shannon say is that would give her and her staff the necessary relief. And if the park doesn't open, well then it's a moot point. But if it does open, we've already addressed the hours issue.
Mm-hmm.
And what would we decide would the hours be in order to implement this? Obviously, it's going to be shortened from 5 a.m. Was Shannon talking about starting at 8 or opening at 9 or 10, closing at 6? I mean, all those numbers were mentioned.
10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
All right, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And also, would there be a stipulation there, Shannon, as far as the grilling? That's no grills, propane, gas, whatever, coals, none of those are permitted?
On the beach.
On the beach. Now, what about the pier? We've seen a lot of them appear. I've seen hot coals dumped on the east-west pier. indiscriminately, which is, a bad deal, would you also include that or just keep it on the beach?
So our issue with not allowing it on the pier is people will move to the parking lots. They just will. They're not going to pick up their beach stuff and take it to the grassy areas. So Ed and I discussed putting one of the very large red charcoal receptacles up on the pier and allowing it and monitoring it. Because I think the reason they dump their clothes on the pier is they don't want to dump them in the sand. So
Yes.
if a receptacle and they're allowed on the pier, that may work.
I think if there was a receptacle there, then maybe just stipulate no fires on the beach.
And tomorrow in our meeting, I'd like to start my first comment off with the will of the park board, so to speak, because like we're saying, a lot of this is going to hinge on what the decisions are from the mayor and the entire council. I would find it impossible to believe that the mayor is going to have it open, but we err on the side of caution if nobody comes up with anything. But I just want to encapsulate what I think I've heard from the group here, and I'm going to bring this to the council here: the hours of operation, staffing, and I don't know if there's possibilities of reallocations of resources of people in the city, volunteers, tip agencies, if that could help in this small window we've got, and not, rely so much on high schoolers. It seems to me that, 50% capacity doesn't have to be an exact number. You can ballpark geographically, and then let another 20 cars in. I wouldn't be too much of a stickler on, 160 cars and that's it, or whatever the number may be. Just a ballpark visual, let in 10. But you need somebody that has the ability to do that. Limit to county residents, honoring stickers, and no grills. Those are the things, and I agree with all of those. If we can incorporate those ideas into the conversation tomorrow, and any others that it sounds like that the group want that contemplated on the city council in that meeting, so that then we're not coming back with something out of left field and I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible for the council or the mayor to come up with something that we haven't touched on right here. So these are the things that I'm going to just bring and say that as part of the meeting, this is the concern of the park board, and this is what we'd like incorporated into whatever bill we come up with, the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Mack, and thank you everyone for your attendance tonight and being the voice for us back to the city council. To dedicate the time you have to the park department, we really appreciate, and we're grateful for.
Shannon, just a question. I know, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but on the weekends we have the Michigan City Police that assist with getting everyone out of the park at closing time. Would that?
And they also supply ATVs that monitor the beach, the parking lot, California Ave on Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay. Would they still be able to provide that service if we change the hours to those that you proposed?
I think it would be helpful to their limited resources now that they wouldn't have to operate, 14 hours a day. It'd be scaled back to 8. So I think it would be helpful to the police department as well.
Okay. And that would only be on the weekends, right? So during the week, park staff would be responsible for getting everyone out?
No, I'm saying changing the hours 7 days a week, shrinking them down, 10 to 6.
Okay.
And then the police are always responsible for closing the park at night.
Oh, okay.
When it was open this summer, our staff closed down at 8, and then the police come in and sweep the area at 9 and shut the gates.
Okay.
So we would just be closing with the police at 6 o'clock. It's still light out.
Okay.
So that would relieve a strain because they are under strain as well with very limited personnel and resources.
Okay. That's
All
good to
right,
know.
so now what are we saying that we would change the hours and honor a sticker that's on that windshield, no matter where it is. Is that correct?
Well, I believe that decision won't be ours to make,
Right.
the city council decision. The hours can be our decision. So we either consider a motion tonight to change the hours, or we do that at a special meeting later in the week.
So I personally, I would like to have that motion tonight so that if we do need another special meeting, that hurdle has already been cleared. And I agree with Shannon. You go down there, these kids, I call them kids because everybody's a kid to me, but I think it's 10 to 6. I used to be a real beachy, and I'm still a beach bum, but I try to hide it. I think 10 to 6 is sufficient. And like Shannon mentioned, with the strain on the personnel we have to work, I think those hours are fine. 8 hours in the sun will give anybody skin cancer after a long time.
Agreed.
And I'd also like to mention Michigan City Fire Department has also been called in during the weekdays. So they're out there in 2 units Monday through Friday, again, taxing their staff with these long hours of patrolling the beach. So I think if we shrink the hours, we increase the resources and we make it more manageable.
Yeah, and I think your hours that you suggested, 10 to 6, makes common sense. And I agree with Phil. If Mr. President, if you want to make that motion, or if you want to ask for a motion on that, is Mr. Freeze had indicated that's one hurdle that we do have out of the way if we do have to make another meeting later on this week.
We certainly can consider any motion that the board may desire.
I'll make a motion then to change the hours of operation from 10 to 6, 7 days a week.
Would you add fires on the beach are not permitted?
Oh, certainly.
Typically no
Yeah.
grilling.
And change the hours of operation for 7 days a week from 10 to 6, and no fires or grills, gas or charcoal on the beach.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Any other discussion tonight? Any discussion from the public?
Anybody further comments?
I would like to make one comment that we do have to consider the people that are going to be using their boats in the marina as far as the closing time. We can discuss that at our next meeting, but it's something we need to consider.
Don't they have, well, they do have parking right along what 800 dock or whatever it is, and then they have their other parking. Do they have their own attendants to check their stickers in? I don't know. I know they have their parking lot.
They do. However, they're having the same issue. They're going back to school, so their season's going to end. I have met with the harbor master, and we do have an alternate plan for letting boaters in, which is very similar to what we've always done. Our gates closed. They still have access into the marina parking lots with stickers only. But then it's going to be up to the Port Authority to monitor that entrance for stickers because our staff will be gone.
Right.
And they're aware of that. We've spoken about it many times.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Shannon.
Any other comments or questions? Any comments from the public? All right, considering there's nothing else on the agenda, our next regular scheduled meeting is August 5th, 2020, Wednesday at 5 p.m. there's no other topic or business, thank you everyone for carving out time for this special meeting. It's much appreciated. And do you have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.